calling the open enrollment hearing to order. Open it up.
Yep.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do the pledge.
Okay. Let's do the pledge. All right. What's the format for this tonight?
So either I or someone from the board can review what the public hearing is for, and then really just take public input or questions.
Okay. Does anyone volunteer if we're going over, or are we good with Marcy doing it?
So there's a little, not a little, there's a lot of confusion because there's open enrollment legislation that's happening, and there's a current open enrollment law that has existed since 1995. It was embedded in the charter school law, and then in 2009 it was separated out for public schools. Right now in the state there are two open enrollment schools, Prospect Mountain and Franklin. And what has happened is students had left other schools and attended under the open enrollment provision at Prospect Mountain. Then those schools got a bill that said, hey, you owe us X amount of tuition, so whatever their cost per pupil is. And the school said, I had no idea that this was a thing, and we're not going to pay it. And they sued. They took it to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court held for the open enrollment school because the public body hadn't voted on whether or not to allow students in or out. So by putting this article on the warrant, it is protecting the school district by the way the warrant reads is 0 in, 0 out, and then a separate warrant for an appropriation of $0. So by the public body voting that we will send 0, we will accept 0, and we will spend 0. It's at least protecting us through, hopefully, this next year, as long as current legislation doesn't pass and make it effective immediately.
I would just add, though, there is current legislation that will, anything we talk about or do could be upended, sounds like as soon as next week. And if that were to happen, everything we're talking about, including the warning articles, are all basically for nothing because the new legislation would basically allow anyone to go to any school district they want, very high level.
Right. So under that's all right. Under the current law, so 194D, there's no rhyme or reason to who you accept or why. It could be, I want all third graders. I want people who are just interested in becoming proficient in French. The school is allowed to determine who they accept and who they don't accept, and that's a whole other thing. Under the new legislation, if that passes, the only way, if you vote, it would go effect immediately. You'd have to be in an open enrollment school, and there's only a few reasons why you could say no. Chronic absenteeism, a history of disciplinary issues, if you've been expelled, or if there are constraints in terms of capacity. So you'd have to look at your capacity. Actually, it would make you post capacity each month. So if that goes into effect, it is immediate. I am hopeful, we are hopeful as a superintendent group, as the organizations in our district, that the governor understands the concerns with this because it's been so fast-tracked that we will get at least a year reprieve. But that's why when you come to the annual meeting and vote no or approve the articles for 0 in, 0 out, that's giving us a year of protection from getting a bill, an unanticipated bill.
And I know the Bow School District and the school board signed a document that went to the governor saying basically that we didn't really want that to happen at this time, the open enrollment. And my question is, it looked to me like it was every school district in the state. Maybe I'm missing some, but do you have any idea? Was it every school district, both school boards and administration, that said, basically, please don't sign this bill into law? It's going to create such chaos in the schools districts that we don't even know where to begin, really.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say that it was everyone, but I would say that it's most. And then our school board reps also did. Dwayne Ford, our business administrator, sent a letter expressing his concerns, in particular with the finances. So yes, the governor has heard from a majority of the state school representatives.
But then circling back, none of that is relevant for why we're here right now, which is to
Right,
talk about
right,
this,
right.
this period of time, or in the event that the governor doesn't sign that in, or if it somehow doesn't pass or what have you. But in the meantime, for the warrant articles that have to go before the town, that's what this public hearing is about today.
That's what this is about. So I have a microphone here. If you have questions, I'll bring it out to you. I don't know if there's anything else I can add about the current legislation, but if you have questions, anybody? Yeah. Okay.
Because we're taping. So that way, if somebody, you might have the same question as somebody who's watching.
No.
Hello? Look at that. I'm going to assume that the kids that live in the district have first dibs to go to the districts, to our schools, correct?
Correct.
And what does it look like as far as our taxes if we are going to do open enrollment with these children?
If we send students?
No, if students come into our district, what does that look like for us?
So a couple things with that. What we know right now from the warrant articles in other communities surrounding us, nobody is agreeing to send students, including Prospect Mountain, who has been the recipient of a bunch of students. They are also have agreed not to send any students. So part of what we would do as a school is if this passed and a student came to us and said, I want to attend, or parents came, we would need to make sure that the district that they're coming from allowed for that, right? So as an example, if Concord said, we're not sending any students, and we had a Concord family come, we would not enroll them. So that's where it gets a little tricky, is that nobody right now is allowing students to go because it's impossible to budget for. Muriel? It's not on. Yeah, it's on the bottom. Yep.
Let's say you vote, the town votes 0-0. And this is only a holding piece, right? So that if 751 passes, then you guys don't have to worry about it. Is that right? Or because what I've heard is school boards are being advised by lawyers to do this. At least put a 0 on the sending. And a number of them are doing 30 receiving, 5 receiving, 0 receiving. And I will say I commend you folks for opting for 0-0. Because if you're saying 0 out and 20 in, you're basically taking those 20 kids from somewhere else. But if everybody does 0, you're not getting anybody, I guess. So I guess my question is, so you do this, the bill passes, which I'm not sure it's going to pass in its current state, because the governor has already said on close-up that she wasn't going to pass it as is. But, so I guess that's my question, is that you're just covering yourself, you're following legal advice to do this, to do a 0-0. Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
And part of that is because, so open enrollment exists in many states, right? But it's funded very differently, and it certainly hasn't been fast-tracked like this. And there are different versions everywhere, and it works in places. So we know that it's going to stay around and definitely be back in next year's legislative cycle. So this, we're hoping, at least gives us the year to see what happens and to plan accordingly. And if
Can I do a
751
follow-up on that?
passes,
Are you okay with me just giving some information?
purely, if 751 passes, though, that goes into effect immediately.
Right. And so then we have so the whole point I guess I want to say is this is all a fast tracking manipulation to get 751 passed before the town meetings.
Mhm.
Now they got a hiccup in the road because somebody didn't like it. And so now, just to give an update from today, today we voted on it in the House. We didn't vote on it, excuse me. It came to us that the Senate, they've decided to go to Committee of Conference. Committee of Conference has 3 senators, 3 reps, and they just go in and try to either fix the bill and come to an agreement. But if people on the committee don't come to an agreement with the ones that want it, they can kick them off and bring somebody else in. The bottom line, if they pass it at Committee of Conference, it does have to come back to the full House to get voted on. It does have to go back to the full Senate. So this whole process is taking a little longer than they had anticipated. So they're just trying to beat out, you folks are trying to beat them out, and they're trying to beat you guys out because this Senate Bill 101 does exactly the same thing. It just has to go through the process. It's got to come to us in the House, got to go back. So that's all going to be after town meeting. So it'll be curious to see what happens in the next 2 weeks, right? So my question I have for you, though, on open enrollment in and of itself is, and maybe Bryce, you would be the person to speak to this, but or Jen, would be sports. What is the NHIA is doing with this open enrollment thought? I mean, I can only imagine super schools if that happens. So
NHIA hasn't taken a stance on it. I guess I'll leave it at that. But it's happening. It's already happening.
And I'm not convinced that the governor won't veto whatever comes, because it's going to, like, from our perspective, and again, I don't know if that was an open letter that could be shared. I mean, there were examples in there of the chaos that the schools envision from the true open enrollment. That is, 751? That it would just throw such chaos into the public school system in the state, like on every level, that I think some people think that maybe she will veto it because she doesn't want to be the one that puts such chaos into the public school system in the state, perhaps. But yeah, I mean, there's no question it would create super schools for music, super schools for sports, and well, yeah, I mean, we go a lot of directions in that. I mean, I think Pittsfield is a very clear example. I don't think the school will exist if this happens, and that's a shame. It's the glue that binds that community together. So, as it is here. Yeah.
Any other questions? Close the hearing. The process would be then to close the hearing, but you have to vote on it, and I have the article for you to sign.
So I need a motion for closing the hearing.
I will make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it.
Sorry we didn't have more information. It's kind of